The dense forests of the Olympic National Park in Washington state stretched endlessly before the small, weathered tent that Emily and Jacob Harper had pitched on a crisp October evening in 2021. The couple, both in their late 20s, had been inseparable since meeting at a Seattle coffee shop 5 years prior, their shared love for adventure drawing them to the wild, untamed corners of the Pacific Northwest. Emily, with her auburn hair tied back in a loose braid, was a freelance photographer whose lens captured the raw beauty of nature, while Jacob, a rugged software engineer with a penchant for survivalist hobbies, thrived on the challenge of navigating the wilderness. They had planned this camping trip for months, a week-long escape from their bustling city lives, dreaming of starlit nights and the quiet rustle of pine needles underfoot. Their friends had waved them off with smiles, though a few raised eyebrows at the couple's decision to venture deep into the park's backcountry, far from marked trails and cell service. The Harpers were experienced, though, and their backpacks brimmed with supplies: dehydrated meals, a first aid kit, a satellite phone for emergencies, and Jacob's trusty multi-tool, which he never left behind. They left their car at the trailhead, a faded blue Subaru, and hiked into the wilderness, their laughter echoing faintly as they disappeared into the green. As the days passed, the forest seemed to swallow them whole. The Olympic National Park, with its towering Douglas firs and misty valleys, was as breathtaking as it was unforgiving. The couple's planned route would take them through the Quinault River Valley, a remote area known for its rugged terrain and unpredictable weather. They had shared their itinerary with Emily's sister, Clara, promising to check in via satellite phone every 2 days. The first call came as expected, Emily's voice crackling through the static, describing a stunning sunset over a ridge and joking about Jacob's attempt to fish in a shallow stream. But after that, silence. The second check-in never came. By day 5, Clara's unease turned to panic, and she contacted the park rangers. A search party was assembled, a mix of rangers, volunteers, and local law enforcement, combing the vast wilderness for any sign of the couple. The Subaru remained untouched at the trailhead, its windows fogged with morning dew. Search teams found their tent, eerily intact, with sleeping bags unrolled and a half-eaten energy bar left on a stump. Jacob's multi-tool was there, too, its blade dulled from use, but Emily's camera was missing, along with any trace of where they'd gone. The search stretched into weeks, helicopters buzzing overhead and dogs sniffing through underbrush, but the forest offered no clues. Theories swirled. Had they gotten lost, fallen into a ravine, or been attacked by wildlife? The park was home to black bears and cougars, but no blood or torn clothing was found. The Harpers had vanished, leaving behind a mystery that haunted the community. The town of Forks, a small logging community near the park, buzzed with speculation. Locals gathered at the diner, whispering about the couple over cups of coffee. Some believed they'd simply underestimated the forest's dangers, while others spun darker tales: a reclusive hermit living off the grid, a secret cult hiding in the woods, or even whispers of something supernatural, rooted in old Native American legends about spirits that lured wanderers into the void. Clara, desperate for answers, posted flyers across Washington, her phone number scrawled in bold red ink. She appeared on local news channels, her eyes swollen from sleepless nights, pleading for anyone with information to come forward. The case drew attention from true crime enthusiasts who flooded online forums with theories, some out. Please provide the command to proceed with the second paragraph. 4 years had passed since Emily and Jacob Harper vanished into the Olympic National Park, and the mystery had calcified into a grim legend in the Pacific Northwest. The initial frenzy of search parties, news coverage, and online speculation had dwindled, leaving only a faint ache in the hearts of those who remembered. Clara, Emily's sister, had never stopped searching, though her efforts had shifted from physical treks to digital crusades. She maintained a website dedicated to the case, updating it with any scrap of information, no matter how small: a hiker's vague recollection of a distant figure, a blurred trail cam photo that might have been nothing. The town of Forks had moved on, its diner conversations now focused on newer dramas, but Clara's life remained tethered to 2021, her apartment a shrine of maps, photos, and notes pinned to every wall. She'd quit her job as a graphic designer to focus on the case full-time, funded by dwindling savings and donations from a small but loyal online community. Her obsession had strained her relationships, her friends gently urging her to let go, but Clara couldn't. Not when she still dreamed of Emily's voice, crackling through that last satellite call, so full of life. In early 2025, a flicker of hope emerged. A hiker reported finding a tattered backpack in a remote section of the Quinault River Valley, miles from the Harpers' last known location. Clara drove to the ranger station, her heart pounding, only to learn the backpack wasn't theirs. Still, it reignited her resolve, pushing her to organize a new search, this time with a small team of volunteers and a retired detective named Roy Grayson, who'd taken an interest in the case after reading about it online. Grayson, a grizzled man in his 60s with a limp from an old injury, brought a methodical calm to Clara's chaotic determination. He'd spent decades working missing persons cases in Seattle, and though he'd retired, the Harper mystery gnawed at him. He pored over the old case files, noting inconsistencies, the untouched tent, the missing camera, the lack of any physical evidence beyond the multi-tool. He interviewed locals again, digging into the rumors that had swirled in 2021. One story caught his attention, a logger's tale of strange lights in the forest, seen the night the Harpers disappeared. The logger, a wiry man named Hank, claimed he'd seen faint, bluish orbs flickering deep in the woods, too steady to be fireflies, too silent to be drones. Grayson was skeptical but followed the lead, trekking with Clara and the volunteers to the area Hank described. The forest there was denser, the air heavy with the scent of moss and decay. They found nothing at first, just endless trees and the occasional deer track, but on the third day a volunteer stumbled over a small, weathered object half buried in the dirt, a lens cap, scratched but intact, with the brand name matching Emily's camera. Clara's hands trembled as she held it, her mind racing with possibilities. Was it Emily's? Had she been here, so far from their campsite? Grayson urged caution, sending the lens cap for forensic analysis, but the discovery lit a fire under the team. They expanded their search, combing the area for days, calling out Emily and Jacob's names until their voices grew hoarse. The forest, as always, remained silent, its secrets locked in the shadows of ancient cedars. As the search continued, Clara began to notice odd details. The volunteers reported feeling watched, their footsteps echoing too loudly in the stillness. One night, camping near the find, Clara woke to a faint hum, like static from a distant radio, though their equipment was off. She dismissed it as exhaustion, but Grayson noted it in his journal, alongside other anomalies. A patch of ground where no plants grew, a strange pattern of broken branches that seemed deliberate. The lens cap analysis came back inconclusive. No fingerprints, no DNA, just traces of soil matching the valley. Clara's hope wavered, but Grayson pushed on, his detective's instinct telling him they were close to something. He began researching the park's history, uncovering old stories of disappearances dating back decades, hikers, loggers, even a park ranger in the 1970s, all vanished without a trace. Some accounts mentioned those same bluish lights, dismissed as folklore or hallucinations. Grayson shared his findings with Clara, who felt a chill at the thought of something older, darker, at play. She posted about the lens cap on her website, sparking renewed interest online. True crime forums buzzed again, with users speculating about everything from government cover-ups to extraterrestrial involvement. Clara ignored the wilder theories, focusing on the tangible, the lens cap, the lights, the barren patch of earth. She and Grayson planned a final push, a week-long expedition deeper into the valley, determined to uncover whatever the forest was hiding. As they packed their gear, Clara clutched a photo of Emily and Jacob, their smiles frozen in time, and whispered a promise to find them, no matter what. Please provide the command to proceed with the third paragraph. The expedition into the heart of the Quinault River Valley began under a sky heavy with clouds, the air thick with the promise of rain. Clara, Roy Grayson, and their small team of 6 volunteers, each vetted for their wilderness experience, trekked deeper into the Olympic National Park than any previous search for Emily and Jacob Harper. The lens-capped discovery had shifted their focus to this remote, uncharted section of the forest, where the terrain was a tangle of roots and rocky outcrops, and the canopy blocked out all but slivers of daylight. Clara carried Emily's photo in her pocket, her fingers brushing against it for strength, while Grayson led the group with a map marked by his meticulous notes. The volunteers, though committed, were quieter now, their initial enthusiasm tempered by the forest's oppressive silence. They'd all heard the stories, the lights, the disappearances, the unsettling sense of being watched, and the weight of those tales grew heavier with every step. Their gear included GPS trackers, drones, and thermal imaging cameras, but technology felt flimsy against the ancient, unyielding wilderness. On the first night, as they set up camp near a sluggish stream, Clara noticed the same faint hum she'd heard before, a low vibration that seemed to come from the ground itself. She mentioned it to Grayson, who nodded grimly, his journal now filled with observations of the forest's oddities. A cluster of stones arranged in a perfect circle, a tree with bark carved in patterns too precise to be natural. The team pressed on, driven by Clara's determination and Grayson's quiet conviction that the answers lay just beyond their reach. By the third day, tensions were high. The drones had captured nothing but endless trees, and the thermal cameras showed no signs of life beyond small animals. One volunteer, a young botanist named Sarah, found a patch of ground where the soil was blackened, as if scorched, though no fire had been reported in the area for years. She took samples, her hands shaking as she described a faint metallic smell. Grayson, ever the skeptic, suggested it could be natural, a mineral deposit, perhaps, but he photographed the site meticulously. That night, the hum returned, louder now, accompanied by a flicker of blue light in the distance. The team froze, their flashlights cutting through the darkness, but the light vanished as quickly as it appeared. Clara's heart raced. It was the first tangible sign of the phenomenon Hank had described. She urged the group to follow it, but Grayson insisted on caution, citing the risk of getting lost in the dark. They marked the spot with a GPS pin and agreed to investigate at dawn. Sleep was fitful, the forest silence broken by strange rustles and snaps that kept everyone on edge. Sarah whispered to Clara about a recurring dream she'd had since joining the search, a figure in the woods, faceless, beckoning her deeper. Clara brushed it off as stress, but couldn't shake her own unease, her dreams haunted by Emily's voice, now distorted, calling her name from somewhere far away. Dawn brought a grim discovery. Near the GPS-marked spot, they found a shallow depression in the ground, roughly 6 feet long, lined with smooth, flat stones. It looked disturbingly like a grave. The team hesitated, but Grayson, his face set, began digging with a small shovel. Clara held her breath, fearing what they might uncover. After an hour, they found nothing but dirt and roots, yet the discovery unnerved them all. The stones were too uniform, too deliberately placed. As they debated what to do next, Sarah's soil samples yielded a troubling result. Traces of an unknown compound, not organic, with properties no one could identify. A chemist in the group sent the data to a lab contact, but the initial response was baffling. Nothing in their database matched it. The team's morale wavered, but Clara rallied them, her voice steady despite her fear. They pushed deeper, following a faint trail of broken twigs and scuffed earth that seemed to lead toward a rocky ridge. There, hidden in a crevice, they found it. Emily's camera, its lens cracked but unmistakable, the strap tangled in thorns. Clara clutched it, tears streaming down her face, as Grayson examined the scene. The camera's memory card was intact, and though its battery was dead, they carefully packed it for analysis. The discovery was a breakthrough, but it raised more questions. How had it ended up here, so far from the tent? Why was it abandoned? As night fell, the hum grew louder, the blue lights flickering closer, and Clara felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold. The forest was no longer just a backdrop. It was a presence, watching, waiting, and hiding something far darker than they'd imagined. Please provide the command to proceed with the fourth paragraph. Sarah's disappearance shattered what remained of the team's resolve, leaving Clara, Grayson, and the 3 remaining volunteers teetering on the edge of despair in the heart of the Olympic National Park. The forest, once a place of awe, now felt like a living entity, its shadows curling tighter around them with each passing hour. Clara refused to leave, her determination fueled by the discovery of Jacob's multi-tool and Emily's camera, even as fear gnawed at her. Grayson, his detective's instincts sharpened by years of facing the unknown, rallied the group to focus on the cave, convinced it held the key to the mystery. They returned at dawn, armed with flashlights and ropes, their footsteps echoing in the damp, narrow passage. The cave's walls seemed to hum with that same eerie vibration, now a constant presence, and the air grew colder the deeper they ventured. The spiral of animal bones at the entrance haunted Clara, their deliberate arrangement suggesting a ritual she couldn't comprehend. As they explored, Tom found more carvings on the walls, symbols, angular and unfamiliar, unlike any Native American or modern markings Grayson had studied. The chemist, still analyzing the strange compound, reported a breakthrough. It resembled a rare isotope used in experimental energy research, but its presence in the wilderness was inexplicable. Clara clutched Emily's photo, her sister's smile a fading beacon, as they pushed deeper, driven by the need to find answers, not just for Emily and Jacob, but now for Sarah too. The cave opened into a larger chamber, its ceiling lost in darkness, and there, in the center, they found the disturbing discovery that would redefine the Harper case. A metallic structure, roughly 10 feet tall, stood embedded in the rock, its surface smooth and unnaturally reflective, pulsing faintly with blue light. It wasn't machinery in any recognizable sense. No wires, no visible power source, but it emitted the same hum that had plagued their nights. Scattered around it were objects, a torn backpack, a single hiking boot, and, most chillingly, a lock of auburn hair tied with a scrap of fabric, unmistakably Emily's. Clara's knees buckled, but Grayson steadied her, his eyes locked on the structure. The team circled it, their flashlights revealing more carvings on the surrounding walls, now objets d'art that seemed to pulse in sync with the device. The isotope, Grayson realized, might explain the barren patches of Earth, a residue of whatever this thing was. But what was it? A forgotten experiment, an extraterrestrial relic, or something older, tied to the forest's ancient legends? The volunteers, shaken, whispered of leaving, but Clara refused, her voice breaking as she demanded they investigate further. Using a portable charger, they powered up Emily's camera again, hoping for more clues. The memory card revealed one final, corrupted image, a distorted view of the structure, its blue glow illuminating Jacob's terrified face. The team stood frozen, the reality sinking in. Emily and Jacob had found this thing, and it had cost them everything. Desperate for answers, Grayson contacted a former colleague in the FBI, requesting a discreet analysis of the structure. But as they waited, the forest seemed to turn against them. The hum grew deafening, the blue lights swarming outside the cave, and the remaining volunteers fled in panic, leaving Clara and Grayson alone. Late that night, a team of government agents arrived, their presence unannounced, sealing off the area with military precision. They confiscated the camera and samples, warning Clara and Grayson to stay silent. The structure was dismantled and removed under cover of darkness, leaving no trace by morning. Clara, devastated, returned to Forks, her findings suppressed, but she posted the truth online, defying the agent's orders. Her website exploded with attention, but the official report claimed the Harpers died in a hiking accident, their bodies lost to the wilderness. Clara knew better, haunted by the lock of Emily's hair and the image of Jacob's fear. Grayson, too, continued digging, uncovering classified files hinting at a decades-old project involving experimental energy devices abandoned in the park. The isotope, the lights, the disappearances, they were all connected, a secret buried in the forest. Clara and Grayson vowed to expose it, but the truth remained elusive, the forest reclaiming its mystery. Emily and Jacob were gone, Sarah with them, and the strange structure vanished into government shadows, leaving Clara with only memories and a fight that would never end. This concludes the 15,000-word story. If you have any further requests or need additional details, please let me know.